Hey, so I was at Toronto International Film Fest and I still got some movies that I gotta review because I saw a bunch of movies there and I said I would review all of them, so let's keep going. One of the films I saw was Cold War, the newest film from the director of Ida. Although this film has many similarities to Ida in terms of its presentation and style, the type of story that it's trying to tell is a very different one. This is a love story between a musical director and a singer set during the Cold War in the 1950s. Now, I enjoyed this movie, but it wasn't quite as impactful for me as his previous film. I mean, it was a really good movie, but in many ways it kind of felt like a watered-down version of Ida. The movie was very atmospheric and interestingly shot, but the presentation didn't feel as though it had nearly as much of a purpose as his previous film. The story and characters were intriguing, but not nearly as much as Ida. It was really well acted, but again, not nearly as much. And it's really difficult not to compare them when they're presented so similarly. I guess the biggest difference between these films would be their structure. It wasn't until about 2/3 through the movie that I really got what the structure of this film was going for, but once I understood it, I was all for it, and I can easily see this aspect not bothering me at all on my second watch. Overall, this film was a pleasant experience. It's very well directed and visually appealing. If you're gonna decide between this and his previous film, then definitely watch Ida, but despite the comparisons, this still stands on its own, and I would recommend watching it. Check this one out whenever, and I'm giving this one a 7 out of 10. Another film I saw at the festival was Everybody Knows from one of my favorite directors, Asghar Farhadi. If you're looking to watch some great Iranian movies, then definitely check this guy out. This film stars Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz, and they both do a great job as usual. Now, I unfortunately wasn't able to catch this one while I was at Cannes Film Festival, but one thing that I noticed is that the reviews and overall reception for this film wasn't really all that great compared to his previous movies, and after watching it I can kind of understand why, but I still think that this movie was pretty great overall. For the most part, this plays pretty similarly to other films he's made. It's got a gripping story that reveals more and more information as it goes along. It's very well shot and lit with an atmospheric setting. It's well paced for the most part and doesn't really feel like it drags on at all. The only real issue I have with this film would be the ending, which is kind of unfortunate because it seemed relatively avoidable. Without spoiling anything, let's just say that it could have been fixed by the movie ending sooner or later. The film could have ended just fine without the last aspect being presented, but presenting that last aspect also could have worked if they had just shown more. The way that the movie ends is unfortunately kind of unsatisfying, and it had me longing for some kind of payoff that I never got. It's pretty unfortunate because, like I said, most of the movie was great, but the way that they chose to end this movie really did affect my experience. Still, I'll be watching this movie for a second time and we'll see exactly how I feel about it then. It's just that this type of story in particular isn't really one where you want to have an unsatisfying ending associated with it. Thankfully, the other aspects of filmmaking in this movie were enough to leave me with a positive experience overall. I would definitely recommend this even if it's not as great as his other movies, so check this one out whenever, and I'm also giving this one a 7 out of 10.